how's it going? Welcome back to another video here. So I wanted to talk about the Dead City trailer, and I actually wanted to go a lot more in depth in here and really focus on certain shots that, there's one shot specifically that, first of all, we know the name of a new community, so I want to talk about that. I have some questions there, and then from there, I was like looking into some stuff, and I got a bunch more questions now about this show. So yeah, I have a bunch of stuff listed here, so I want to go through all of this. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch later as well, so definitely go follow me on Twitch. My channel name is Appetite for the Dead. I'll be streaming, breaking down some of the Walking Dead trailer later on, and also I just wanted to give a shout out to my brother on Twitch. If you haven't actually followed him yet, he created a Twitch channel not too long ago, and he's been streaming on there. It'd be cool if we can get him to like 50 followers. Like, he's close to 30, so if we can get like 20 people or something like that to follow him just to get him to 50, that'd be really awesome. Honestly, I'd really appreciate that. I think we'll be streaming a little later on as well. I think we'll be doing some Demonologist, and also I am going to be breaking down the Dead City trailer as well. Like, we're going to do that first on the stream, and then we'll jump into Demonologist, because I really want to talk about the trailer with you guys, to do a sort of live Q&A. But yeah, anyways, for those that do go follow my brother on Twitch, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys later on today. So the first thing that I really wanted to talk about here was the fact that we actually have a new community here called New Babylon. So I've heard of this before, but I didn't really, like, whenever information comes out, I guess prior to trailers or prior to Comic-Con conventions and stuff like that. Actually, I don't know why I said Comic-Con convention. Isn't that a comic convention? Isn't that what the con is for, is a convention? Anyways, there was some information about New Babylon, and I think I talked about it before, but it's possible that I was going through a bunch of stuff then, and I just didn't have a chance to get to it. But yeah, New Babylon seems to be this new community here in Manhattan, and I have a lot of questions as to how big this community is, but we'll get into that very soon. There's this shot here of a new character named Pearly Armstrong. He's a marshal for New Babylon, and his quest, really, and his main mission is to, I guess, bring justice, basically, right? Like, he's the marshal here, and I guess Negan is somebody that is wanted. And so this is where some questions do come up, in terms of why is he wanted, and why does this seemingly come out of nowhere? Now, before we get into that, I do want to read what's actually on this sign here. I spent a long time trying to understand what this says exactly. I still don't know what the bottom says, and that does suck, because honestly, if we could know what the bottom part says, it may tell us why he's wanted, right? My guess right now, and based off of some stuff that people have said online, is that it's because of his crimes for being the leader of the Saviours. So there's likely some stuff that he has done. I originally, I was wondering if it was some stuff related to the Croat, and maybe he harmed the Croat in some way, but I don't know if that's the case, because the Croat, I'm having a hard time associating him with the Marshals and New Babylon. It almost seems like the Croat is something else, like the small group or something within New Babylon. Like, they seem to be sort of disconnected from whatever's happening in New Babylon. So yeah, but on the sign it says wanted. You could read that part, and then it just says, if you have any information on this man, and then yeah, notify any office, something of the New Babylon Marshals, and then yeah, you could clearly read this: do not approach unless armed. So obviously Negan being a wanted man is exciting, because it's just something that he's just always kind of had to deal with. But you could argue, yeah, in season 8 he was technically wanted, but not really, right? Like, he was taken in, he spent 8-9 years, however long it was, 7-8 years in Alexandria cell. But it was a little different, and looking at this now, I don't think, that's the thing. And that's what I can't wait to talk about. That's why I really want to learn more information about just what is happening here. Because for Negan, he doesn't want to be in a cell again. He spent 7-8 years or whatever, right, in one. And who knows what this one's going to be like. And he might be there for the rest of his life. So for him, he's probably like, yeah, you know what? I don't really want to be doing this. It's interesting that he goes to Manhattan. And so this is where I have a lot of questions here, right? So this new community is called New Babylon. One of the marshals here that is looking for Negan is named Armstrong, or Pearly Armstrong. We'll probably just call him Armstrong or Marshall Armstrong or something like that. It depends on what the characters call him, obviously. But this whole thing comes up out of nowhere, right? Like, Negan is wanted out of nowhere. And so that's going to be, the premise of his story, and the general premise, I would say, going in to the show here, although obviously the main goal here is Maggie wants to go to Manhattan to go and look for Herschel because this new villain, I guess, the Croat, took him, right? And again, like I was saying before, the Croat seems to be not related or associated in any way to the Marshals of New Babylon. And so it got me thinking right away, like, if Negan is wanted and Maggie needs his help, like, Maggie and Negan are just going to be sneaking around Manhattan, basically, right? And that's where I was wondering, like, well, how big is New Babylon? Because if it's as big as, like, the Commonwealth or whatever, then maybe it makes sense for them to be able to sneak around. But if it's a very small community, then I don't know how much... Well, then I guess it makes even more sense, I would say, for them to be able to go to Manhattan and walk around. And then I also have a question regarding, I guess, why Maggie chooses to go to Manhattan, right? She may have gotten some information there. That is something, like, again, there's a lot of little things like that I'm just wondering about. Like, why is Maggie going to Manhattan? Was Maggie on some sort of trip, some sort of, like, mission or whatever, and then got tangled up with the wrong people, and she knows for a fact that these people are going to Manhattan, so that's why she's going there for Herschel? Like, there's something here that, obviously, just from a character perspective, we got to learn a lot more about, because, I mean, if you're just thinking about it, like, man, Maggie, I guess, has been taking Herschel on these trips for, I mean, how long now? Now he's in trouble, so, like, first of all, is she going to be doing that anymore going forward? I would argue you really shouldn't be. Like, you really, really shouldn't be, right? Like, Rick, Michonne, and, you know, everyone that was sort of taking care of Carl at the time there, I think, as much as it did really, you know, like, it was not fun for Carl back then, like, that was the right move. You don't want to take your teenage son out of a safe community and put him in harm's way kind of thing, right? Like, you want to keep him safe at home. So I'm not entirely sure why Maggie brought Herschel out, but it depends on the mission, right? It depends on where they were going. It literally could have just been a trip and then they ran to the wrong people, right? It depends on the why. Like, why was Maggie out there? That's why I think it wasn't related to just like, oh, we're going to go on a trip, we're going to go to the beach or something like that. For me, it feels like they were out there because Maggie was doing something like community related, right? Because she always tries to meet more people, bring more people in, or help other communities. I feel like it was something like that, and then she just met the wrong people. And that's why I think, you know, that's how she got that information that the Croat or this new community is in Manhattan. And so if that is the premise, because in this trailer, it really shows our characters arriving to Manhattan. It does set up the story in a really brilliant way. It doesn't give too much away. And I'll say, you know, I think people are wanting a trailer, like a 2-minute trailer or something like that. I don't know if we're going to be getting it because this show's only 6 episodes. So this might be all we're getting is just these trailers. So they're 30-second trailers, but honestly, I think for this show, it might be all we get. They might give us something that's like a minute and a half maybe, but you don't want to give too much. And if they do give us more stuff, it might just be a lot of footage from like episode 1, which I mean, I'm totally cool with. There's a lot more here that you can give, right? Like, again, we all have questions like, why is Negan wanted? That is something you could probably give away in a trailer. Like, you could probably put something in a trailer where it says like, you know, this person is wanted for his crimes as being the leader of the Saviours. And I think you could use some footage there. You could do some really fun stuff there. I know there's a lot of rumors about Simon returning, obviously in some sort of flashback scene. So that, I think, personally, would be really cool to have Simon come back. Like, could you imagine that? Like, that would be insane. But then I have questions. Like, if that's true, is that related to the Croat in any way? Was the Croat a former savior? You know what I mean? I have a lot of questions there. And so that's why I think where this story is going, because Marshall Armstrong, to me, seems like a character that isn't necessarily going to be a villain. I think he's a good guy. I know we're on Negan's side, right? So we're going to view him as sort of the villain, like he's trying to arrest him, but we're like, hey, leave him alone kind of thing, right? Like he's redeemed himself already. That's how we explain it, right? Like we're in a totally different reality from like what normal reality is, I would say, just because we've been living in this world for so long, right? We've seen a lot of things. But I do think Marshall Armstrong is eventually going to be like, yeah, you know what? Like we do have a bigger threat. There is this person named the Croat, and I wonder if he's likely going to help Maggie find Herschel, and maybe Negan is pardoned because they take down the Croat kind of thing, and it helps because maybe the Croat is affecting New Babylon in some way. That's sort of a theory I have right now. Again, I could be wrong because maybe Marshall Armstrong and the Croat are connected. Like, I have no idea. That is just something right now that is sort of on my mind right now, is I'm just trying to pinpoint certain parts here of the story because certain parts don't make a lot of sense right now, and it's because we don't have that information yet. But I think a full-fledged trailer, like 2 minutes, could tell us that. I just don't know if we're going to be getting it. The show's coming out in a little over a month. I don't know. This might be all we get. I mean, we're probably going to get some more stuff. There is going to be more footage, but I don't know if we could really expect like a 2-minute trailer. There might just be like 2 or 3 more 30-second trailers. So that's just kind of what I'm expecting right now. And another thing I wanted to touch on, and it's something that like it's kind of related to what I was talking about. I was going to do a video on this because I want to talk about this community in general, like just New Babylon. I want to learn a lot more information about this place though, but it's this wrestling ring here, right? Or I guess it's like an octagon. And like, I'm just very curious as to why we have this here. First of all, there's a lot of people. To me, this almost looks like if you're arrested and you're taken in for your crimes or whatever, maybe you have a chance to be free if you can like fight some zombies or like fight your way, you know, to winning something, or I have no idea. And that's why I was wondering, like, is that where this comes into play? Is Negan going to get arrested at some point in like episode 2 or 3? And then we see him in a situation like this? Because I don't know why we have this scene here. Like this, there's no characters around. Maggie or Negan, they're not here, but maybe they are, right? The one character I guess I could see that would be here would be Negan. I mean, it is interesting thinking about the Saviour arc, because during the Saviour arc, Negan essentially had that with Simon, right? There was like this trial by combat sort of thing, and Simon was challenging Negan to be the leader. I wonder if there's something there. You know, I really wonder how much of the Saviour arc, how much of just what was rooted in that story years ago is playing a role here in this new show, and maybe even in the formation of New Babylon and some of the leaders here, because it is interesting, you know, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe Negan met people years ago that were from New Babylon, and he took a lot of ideas from this place, right? That's possible. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I like how much they're expanding this universe, though. It does feel real. It feels like it's not coming out of nowhere. Like it actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm excited for this. Definitely post your thoughts down below. Again, I'll see you guys later on Twitch and probably in a few hours. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.